Some would say that the Jets organization is nuts. Some would say they've been nuts for quite some time. The reason
Sometimes I feel like a nut.
And apparently it was a nutty situation and departure for Aaron Rodgers, who spoke yesterday on the Pat McAfee show starring A.J. Hawk. And Rodgers decided to air out the New York Jets and describe what the final meeting was with Aaron Glenn, with Darren Moogie, this entire situation, debacle, if you will. Here was Rodgers breaking it all down.
I figured that when I flew across country on my own dime, that there was going to be a conversation. And 20 seconds in, he goes, literally, I'm talking to the GM about something, and he leans to the edge of his seat and goes, "So do you want to play football?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm interested." And he said, "We're going a different direction at quarterback." And I was kind of shocked. Now, not shocked because I didn't think that was a possibility. Listen, of course, they want to move on. That's totally fine. But shocked because I just flew across country. You could have told me this on the phone. So I said, "Huh?" And he goes, "We just want to know how you want it released, the messaging." And I said, "Why?" And then he said, "I don't want to be up in front of the room saying something and have guys looking back at you."
Interesting.
And I said, "What does that even mean? Are you assuming that I would be in the back of the room during a team meeting undermining what you're saying?" I said, "You don't know me." And he said, "You don't know me." And then I said, "Exactly," which is why I flew across the country to have a face-to-face meeting with you to talk about my experience with the Jets. What I thought was going to be a couple-hour meeting turned into like a 15-minute meeting, and I walked out of there.
So there's your final moments with the New York Jets. And
was that a beef? You don't know me, homie.
Look, man.
You don't know me, homie.
This has to look terrible for the Jets, right?
Oh, gosh, yeah, absolutely.
Because here's the reality of it. If that's how you're willing to deal with a guy who's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, how do you feel like they're going to deal with guys who are on the back end of the roster? As a player, and I'm not saying that like all players like Aaron Rodgers or all players even relate to Aaron Rodgers. He seems to have a good rapport with his teammates. But you sit there and go, this is how the team's handling this guy. Now mind you, he probably flew private, on his own dime. It's not like the team's flying him there on his jet to get there, which is a pretty penny if you're coming from California to New York and back. I would estimate, I don't know, someone who's in the industry would probably correct me, tell me I'm wrong, minimum $80,000, $100,000 just for that trip there and back. Minimum. That's probably what he spent doing it. And to not at least want to hear from a guy who's won a Super Bowl, won, 4 MVPs, seems to have a different perspective on the league, but could give some insight to Aaron Glenn, who's stepping into his first opportunity as a head coach and doesn't know this organization, regardless of what anyone wants to say, doesn't know it as well as Aaron Rodgers. He's been there the last 2 years. He's got a much better feel for the pulse of Woody Johnson, how things have operated the past couple of years than Aaron Glenn does. And he didn't want to take the time just to pick his brain and talk to him, even if he didn't want to see him as his quarterback, right? It kind of goes back to the Bill Belichick not getting more interviews. Teams didn't even want to take the opportunity when you had a legitimate chance to take the opportunity to pick one of the greatest football minds in an interview. Even if you didn't want to hire him, just bring him in to at least interview him and see what you can get from him, right? What knowledge he'll be willing to give up and maybe pour into your organization, your leaders, whoever. And so for Aaron Glenn, you didn't even want to do that? You're just going to jump right to the point. And I guess I understand to a degree he doesn't want to waste his time. But then to Aaron Rodgers' point, just give him a phone call. If it's over like that, just give him a phone call. This makes it look like the Jets, and LaVar has said it all along, are dysfunction. But also now it looks even more like a clown show. And it feels like you've got a head coach who, maybe he has an idea of what he's trying to build, but it almost makes it look even worse to how this year is going to go with Justin Fields as their quarterback if things don't go well. It's a disaster because you had a guy you could have brought back who's a first ballot Hall of Famer. And so if he goes somewhere else and plays well and that team's in the hunt, or and even then, forget that. That might be even separate from if the Jets just fall apart, become a dumpster fire. He could be a one and done. Like, these are some of the things that start to come out in the media where it puts more and more pressure and makes everyone question, is this guy, maybe there's a reason why it took him so long to become a head coach. He's been a great D coordinator. He's had a great reputation. But then you watch how he handles this instance, this situation. I don't know, man. Dysfunction, clown show, whatever you want to call it. That's the right back where the Jets are again.
I have a theory. And the theory is he is acting off of the feelings of ownership. And I've seen this happen before. I've been a party to Joe Gibbs falling victim to doing the same exact thing. I was the leader of a team. I was the face of a team, of a franchise, of the town. And due to a vendetta that was apparently, I wasn't really even aware of it, but due to a vendetta of the owner and how he turned his feelings on how he felt about me, he tasked someone else, because he's a coward, he tasked someone else to be his henchman. And Joe Gibbs went for it. He took the cheese, and his coward ass did the same thing, like hid behind, things he shouldn't have hid behind, and the conversations that he and I were having, which was interesting because if media was where it was at right now, I'd have probably did the same thing that Aaron Rodgers did and had the conversation about it, and we'd probably be having the same conversation about how you have a dysfunctional organization. I tend to believe that Aaron Glenn, in handling Aaron Rodgers, was totally doing it with the influence of what he had already got from and communicated with Woody Johnson in terms of how they made him feel, in terms of what they think took place with Aaron Rodgers in New York. And Aaron Glenn was executing what his feelings were towards the situation with Aaron Rodgers, and did that under the influences and the pretenses of what was fed to him once he came to the New York Jets as their head coach. So in a way, while we'll say, okay, maybe as a head coach, you don't allow for an owner or corporate to dictate how you handle a situation, keep your emotions out of it. You are the head coach of this team. You have to manage the relationships with these players differently. But that could be also tongue-in-cheek, because we all know this is the man that hires you. This could be the man that fires you, whether it's a year, whether it's 2 years, whatever it may be. And he's already showing signs of trying to pacify dysfunction. That's my theory. I don't think that Aaron Glenn would have wanted to take the stance he took with Aaron Rodgers. In fact, knowing Aaron Glenn, I would assume he would want the best players on his team. I don't think he had a choice. I don't think he had a choice in the matter of keeping Aaron Rodgers on that roster based upon the feelings that were going towards Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Glenn was tasked to make that one of the first things that he handled once taking the job.
So then Woody Johnson is still meddling in decisions. Got it.
I think the influence. I think the only way you take, because let's be clear, as former players, whether you're a coach now, whether we just, whatever you're doing in your life, when we see one another, we greet each other a certain type of way. You're not going to going to come at a guy.
Hey, hold on.
Yeah, go ahead.
And what type of way is that? Dap up?
It's different than anybody else, right?
That's right. You know what I'm saying? I come in, I kind of come. Yeah, what's up, man?
We greet each other very differently than everybody else, because
what's up, Playboy?
Everybody else to us aren't us. That's if I'm letting the fan base and people in on a secret, I'm sorry to do that. It's not that we think any less of you. It's just that we don't think of you the same way we think of one another. That's all.
It's just,
me too.
And plus, that's what I was going to say.
Sorry,
LaVar,
I love the ass out of you.
If you could, give me the difference between you and Jonas kind of seeing each other, somewhere on the street or whatever, and you and I seeing one another.
All right, if I saw Jonas, I'd be like, "What's up, buddy? What's going on, bro?"
Yeah.
If I saw you, I'd be like, "Cute."
Be like, what up, Playboy?
What up, though?
What's up?
Damn.
How your body feeling? Yeah. Kids is good. Everything good.
Yeah.
You cool? All right, man.
See, I was gonna point
And you
out.
always say it's good to see you like 3-4 times. When you see somebody that played,
Yeah, that's right.
you be like, man, it's good to see you, bro, man. So good to see you.
See, I was going to point
good?
out like a racial component, but you
Yeah.
really buckled my knees when you went to Brady on that.
There's
No,
no
real quick,
which is crazy.
Now, Jonas,
that it exceeds race.
do you see me on the street?
Racist.
How do we greet each other?
Say again.
Oh,
How would
Jonas
Jonas
sees me on the street.
Hey,
Jonas,
buddy. Hey, Brady.
little Top Gun.
Hey,
Hey, a little
up top,
hey.
up top, Jonas.
what's up, Haas? Top
Nah, that's
Gun.
football. That's
Yeah.
football talk, though. You can't use Haas.
Yeah, but that's
That's
kind
like
of,
maybe high school, though.
Yeah,
that might
you know,
be high school.
we're real trying hard to be a meathead.
Yeah, you were.
then,
Yeah, that is. Sometimes
and then-
cats like you try to overcompensate
But it's the
because you
same-
want to be greeted that way.
But it's the same thing if I see LaVar. If I see LaVar, I'd be like, "Sup, dog?"
Oh no.
God, don't do
Oh
that.
no.
Don't do that.
Dude, keep going.
I don't
keep
want
going.
to.
You know what's weird?
want to.
Every time I see Jonas and every time we walk together from like the set during Radio Row during Super Bowl, I always am like, man, if I had an oil can, I would try to like just inject some oil into Jonas's joints just to make him look a little smoother, man. It's
Oh,
just
please.
it's very rigid. It's a very rigid, stiff.
That's them vampire joints.
That's not true.
There's zero. There's like zero skip, zero limp, zero anything.
No.
Like,
because
We get to where we go.
He's partially
No swag.
floating.
Yeah.
no swag.
I'm floating. All I've got in my body is blood, and it ain't mine. You don't know the vampire life. You don't know what we go through.
Funny.
You know, here's what's so funny about the Rodgers discussion. So I'm seeing yesterday people are, laying in like, oh, God, of course, it's everybody else's fault, and he's this and that, and he's pointing fingers. And it's like, I just want to say, we're not talking about like a high-functioning, well-respected history of great decisions and great moves and we're talking about the Jets. Yes, it's plausible that the meeting happened exactly how it happened. It's not like Rodgers has been known to just lie, okay? People can point, oh, well, the COVID stuff and all. No, he found a loophole in his messaging, and that's why people are still bitter about it. But it's not like we're talking about, oh, well, this is an organization that is pristine and all they know is success. Him saying it about them, so you're the one guy who's got a problem with the way that they handle things there. No, we've seen this for decades. It's the same story for decades. Insert quarterback, it's a disaster. Drafted, signed, head coach, what? So, like, when I hear the pushback on things look, is he a little bit arrogant? Sure. Is he a little bit aloof at times? Does he want to control the messaging? Does he like the attention but claim that he does? Probably. But it still doesn't admonish the Jets from being palpable in this whole situation.
Well done.
That they're a disaster, and they've been a disaster for years. And we've brought this point up before on our show. When the first couple of moves and couple of signs are, hey, we don't want any part of this, were Bill Belichick and Bill Parcells saying, no, we're good here. And that was before we had any sort of intel or information on what Woody Johnson's era with the Jets was going to be. That should have been the indicator, okay, maybe there's something wrong here. So the pushback on Rodgers, I don't get, because it's the Jets. They've done this for decades.
And he didn't even play that bad down the stretch. It's to me,
He's better than Justin Fields last year.
He's better than Justin Fields. Period.
Can
Period.
I also
Up
point
top,
out,
Brady.
Can I point out?
I mean, this one instance. Don't
Can
do
I
that.
point out though where I think a lot of people have dug their feet in and it's over, as far as how they feel. Aaron Rodgers. It's the whole vaccination thing.
Yes.
That was such a polarizing issue that there's a lot of people who maybe they're football fans, maybe they're not, but whenever we talk about politics, religion, things like that, and obviously the whole vaccination deal, it was politicized, and that's why it became so polarizing. But the way he messaged the immunized comment
He was
and how people
immunized.
took that and how people drew a line in the sand back then, and they've never been willing to concede on any of that. I mean, this is like outside of a sports conversation, like the people who believed in it, the people who didn't. They drew a line and they're not ever willing to cross that. Like no one's even right now, regardless of whatever report comes out, whatever side you were on, they're sticking to that. They're like, there's no way you're going to convince them otherwise. And unfortunately, like he put himself, rightfully so, he put himself in the middle of that with how he handled that. And I think that actually might be the most polarizing thing that has still followed him to this day, outside of even how he's handled things with being so open and honest about, things in Green Bay and how the drafting of Jordan Love went, or even his time with Brett Favre and everything else up there. And now with the New York Jets and everything else in his personal life that's become public, which with the documentary. So to me, as much as he is very unique as an athlete or as a quarterback in the NFL, there's also an element of like that singular thing to me created the biggest divide for the people who are either for Aaron Rodgers or like Aaron Rodgers or against him. And it's kind of crazy when you think about it. And people can say that's not true, but you're lying. Like I see it to this day. There's people who still have like ruined friendships, aren't as close with their family. There's all sorts of issues from that singular moment in time.
Yeah.
With the way people kind of drew a line in the sand and they're not ever willing to cross it and they're not ever willing to go back on whatever happened back then.
He never breaks character either, though. I think that really irritates a lot of people. And if I were a betting man, I would say the way Aaron Rodgers conducts himself is an irritant to people like a Woody Johnson. He does not break character.
Oh, yeah.
And he answers questions
especially
almost
Johnson.
as if it's like a riddle. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't break character. He stays in that same, and all I want to say was, yep, I can't. You could have did this by the phone. Well, you don't know me. Well, you're right, and that's why I can't. Like the witty comments, the comebacks. It doesn't help. It doesn't help. Like. Show me some emotion. Like, I'll beat your ass. Like, what? Oh, whoa. Aaron Rodgers said what? You know what I mean? Like,
it is funny how we
he don't break character.
It is funny how we pick and choose, who we're still going to punish for things that were done and said 5 years ago during COVID.
It's kind of a long time ago.
Well,
Woody Johnson ain't thinking about the immunization. He's thinking about how Aaron Rodgers tried to ruin him. He tried to ruin me.
No, he's got.
Hey, Aaron, you better get him.
Some would say he's got a vested interest in
somebody
the whole
situation. Get him.
Yeah.
I can't do it myself.
You guys handle it.
Y'all handle this.